Well, Thomas Warrick joins us now. He's the former Deputy Assistant Secretary at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. He joins us also live from Washington, D.C. Thomas, your raw reaction to the speech we've just heard there from the U.S. President and the announcements he's made there on the tariffs for so many countries around the world, 25 countries on that list, of course.
Yes. Well, as a former national security official in the U.S. government, the thing I was struck by the most is that everyone calls this a trade war, and the use of the word war is actually what stuck out the most in my mind. In almost all of recorded history, every time a country goes into a war, it expects victory. And yet, as history teaches us, at least half and sometimes everyone in a war ends up losing. And that's very much what we're seeing right here. The president does not have the American people with him on this issue, unlike other wars in a conventional military sense that the United States has gotten involved in. Even the Iraq War had more support than Trump's tariff war does.
Well, so he seems to believe, Thomas, sorry to interrupt, that he has, today we're standing up for the American worker, he said, and that this will be the age of America. Just on that point about war and security, he said that tariffs were putting national security at risk. How true is this, and what do you make of that comment and tone?
Well, many of us actually have warned that the United States on some very crucial supply chain items like medicines and medical supplies, as we saw during the pandemic, so did Europe, so did Turkey, all found that we were very vulnerable when there were disruptions that the pandemic had caused. But the Democratic Party's solution was to slowly move supply chains back to the United States. They passed the CHIP Act with bipartisan support, and that actually is responsible for a number of things being built here in the U.S., not Trump's tariff threats. But there is a national security element to supply chains. This blows that out of the water, though. This is using a very blunt instrument, and one very clearly the American people are expected to pay for. But they didn't sign up for this. And so he's going into a war, not a fighting war, thank God, but he's going into a war without the American people behind him, even with the rousing speech he gave tonight.
It's a strong comment to make, that he's going into the war without the American people, without him. Just a point on what this will mean for the countries that he's put tariffs on. We saw there 25 countries on the list. Just to mention a few, obviously we're speaking to you from London, 10% on the UK, 20% on the European Union, 34% on China. How will this affect geopolitics and relations with what are obviously the UK and Europe allies?
Well, and the first rule in war is no battle plan survives first contact with the enemy. Let's see what the reciprocal tariffs are going to be from European countries. Many of them are going to be counterattacking in the next day or two with their own announcement of tariffs that will be aimed at the states that President Trump drew the most support from. And so this is very much the opening patriotic speech, like many leaders have given when they start a war. But the conflict has not even begun, and we haven't yet seen what the responding salvos will be from our European and Asian allies.
Well, just on that point, we will be talking about that now. Thank you very much indeed for that. That was Thomas Warrick, former Deputy Assistant Secretary at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Thank you for your time and insights.